guys. I know it's been a while. Welcome to the best books of March and April. I did not get a chance to do um, a post either month, so I'll do them both together. And honestly, I don't have a ton of books that I really loved in March and April, but I do have 3 for each month. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get into it. My favorite books of March, there were 3 of them. The first one was Divine Rivals, which is the first book in the Layers of Enchantment series by Rebecca Ross. This is set in a fantasy world, but it's a very like World War One type of setting. There are 2 gods on either side of the war that are against each other. There's a lot of like trench warfare, that kind of thing. The story follows 2 characters that are journalists and kind of competing journalists, but they're also linked together by magical typewriters, which they don't know initially, and they both get sent out the front to the front to cover the war. I think what I really loved about that, I mean, it's kind of an interesting world, right? It's like a fantasy world meshed with like a very World War One setting, so it's very unique. And I also just really loved how the characters were done. You're just very engaged with them right away, and they are just so, I don't even know how to say it. They feel so deeply about things, and you get so pulled into their life and all the drama going around this war. I really liked it. There is a romance in here, kind of woven into all of that. So anyways, very much like that. I'm actually reading the second book in that duology, Ruthless Vows, right now. And I'm about 30% of the way through. It's been a little slow, but we'll see how it goes. All right, the second book that I read and really loved in March is Vengeance of the Pirate Queen. This is Daughter of the Pirate Queen, Book 3 by Trisha Levenseller. I did listen to this on audiobook. I really loved it. This actually follows I'm forgetting the character's name, but the character who's an assassin for the Pirate Queen. So she's the Pirate Queen's vengeance. And it kind of follows her. She ends up having to captain a ship, and follows her like growing into her own character. She's always hidden in the shadows. She's always been the one who does the dirty work, and she's kind of growing into her own person and being more comfortable with mingling with people and being out in the light. But it's also got a lot of adventure and a lot of excitement, and I really loved it. I have loved all of Trisha Levenseller's books in that series, and this was no exception to that. The third book I read and really enjoyed is a book I got through First Reads, Amazon First Reads, and that is In the Likely Event by Rebecca Yarros. Rebecca Yarros is better known for her Fourth Wing, her Empyrean, I think it is, series, which I do plan to read probably in the next few months. But this is actually a kind of a contemporary fiction thriller about a couple who meet on a plane, and the plane crashes, and that's kind of in their past. But then in the present day, the guy is working for special services, the woman is working for a senator, and they end up meeting in Afghanistan, like war zone, right when the United States is pulling out of Afghanistan. So this was just fun. Again, this is kind of a romance. It goes from the past of these characters to the present, and then kind of back to the past and back to the present. So you're kind of seeing how they got to where they are today. I thought it was really well done. Like when Yarros goes back into the past, there's things in the past that tie into things that are happening in the present and have an impact on that. But again, a lot of action, very like intense. They're in a war zone, things going on. Really loved it, and it made me want to read Yarros's fantasy series even more, even though this is completely like contemporary fiction. So I like that a lot. All right, so then there were 3 books I read and really loved in April. The first of those is Rise of the Cat, the 10th book in the High-Low children's graphic novel series by Jed Winnick. This has just been fun. I started reading these a long time ago with my son when he was little, and I'm the only one still reading them in my family, but I just love them. They're just funny, they're well done, they have a really cool world and story, and I love the family friendship relationships in them. This one does is from the viewpoint of the magical cat, Percy, and she is dealing with things on her home planet and her family and all that, and I really enjoyed it and liked the references to like other things that happen in the story. So I will continue to read the series, even though I am not the intended audience, but I would recommend it to adults as well as kids. It's very fun. The second book I read and really loved in April was The 13th Hour, the first book in the Cruel Gods series by Trudy Skies. This has a very heavy like steampunk feel to it. It's set in a fantasy world where there are 12 gods in different realms, and then there's a city called Chime that is a neutral city from the gods where people can escape to if they don't want to be directly beholden to their god in that god's realm. The world building in this is fantastic. It was a little bit confusing at the beginning because you are being introduced to like 12 different races from 12 different realms with 12 different gods, and they all have different strengths and weaknesses and can do different things. But the world building here is fantastic, and once you figure out what the author is doing, I was just in awe of how amazing this world was. The story itself is very good. It's about a woman who finds out that she's doing things with powers from multiple realms, which is kind of unheard of and also kind of angers the gods in general because that's not supposed to happen. And she ends up having to work with a man who is an enforcer for kind of the gods in general. And they're all very morally gray characters. They do things that are both not good and things that are admirable, right? So I just really enjoyed the character balance there in the world building. And I do have the second book to read, but I just haven't gotten to it yet. They're long books and they're kind of complicated and you have to really focus, so I haven't read that second book yet. All right, and then the third and final book that I read and really loved in April was Wave Rider, which is the 9th book in the Amulet series by Kazu Kibushi. This is another series, graphic novel series, middle grade graphic novel series I've been reading forever, and I was so excited that it's finally done. And it was really finished in a well done way. It was really done well, is what I'm trying to say. So worth the wait, but excited to finally see how the story wraps up and how everything is done. It does feel a little bit rushed and open-ended, but I thought it did the series justice, and that is an amazing series. And I actually sat down and read like the previous 8 books before I read the 9th book, and I would definitely recommend that because they just read differently after you've read the majority of the series. So like, starting with book 1 and just realizing how it follows through. These have had years between releases of books, so again, I would recommend rereading the books before you read the final book, just so you get the full impact of the final book, because there was so much time between releases. There were characters I had forgotten, kind of subtleties I had forgotten. So there you go. Those are the 6 books that I read in March and April and really loved. I do know I haven't been posting nearly as much. I think I've been posting once or twice a month, and I don't know what to say about that. My life is not accommodating doing these YouTube videos for fun right now. I have mentioned in previous videos, we did buy a second house up in Duluth. We are planning to move up there permanently, but not for probably a year and a half or so, which means a lot of things have to happen. So like, we're doing a lot of renovation work on that house. I think I had mentioned we had to upgrade electrical, paint, replace all the baseboards, replace all the doors, redo the flooring. We're not stripping it to the studs, but we are kind of doing everything else. And right now we're in the middle of the kitchen renovation, which is one of the bigger renovations in the house. It is not a very big kitchen, but everything needed to be gutted in it. So cabinets ripped out. We found out they glued the flooring to the subfloor, so we ended up having to cut out the subfloor, and we're in the middle of replacing that. A lot of the electrical was 2-prong, not 3-prong, so not grounded, so we were having to do that. They had the fridge on like a little converter piece instead of actually having it hooked up to 20 amp. So we had noticed that like the freezer was having trouble maintaining temperature and things, so we had to put in a new 20 amp circuit and like rerun all of that. So we're working on it. We also found out that they painted latex paint over enamel paint, so when we went to pull off some of the trim and remove some of the cabinets, the paint was just coming off of the enamel paint in like sheets, so then we had to like pull all of that off the walls. which we are still in the process of doing. So it's just a big amount of work. And we're doing this while trying to work full time and deal with our house in the Twin Cities. And my son is like, he just took his ACT test. He has his AP test coming up. So we're trying to make sure to not be too disruptive to him. And it is nice that he can like just stay. He's old enough now to stay here with the cats and we can run up and do things. And in addition to that, we've been having a lot of contractors come out. There's some concrete work that needed to be done. The sidewalk upstairs had fallen. There was like a hole inside the stairs. So we had to hire somebody to do that. We're trying to get AC put into this house, mini splits, because it's nice to have backup heating and there is no AC right now. And the space I was going to be working, which is the attic, it's really warm. We've already noticed it's only been up to like 60 or 70 a couple days and it gets really hot up there. So lots going on. Trying to deal with contractors and trying to do the renovation work has been kind of exhausting. We're doing a lot of like leave Thursday night, work up there Friday, work Friday night, work Saturday morning, come back Saturday afternoon because we have things going on Sunday in the Twin Cities. So it's just hectic. I guess that's a long way of saying. Other than that, I mean, that's kind of been our main thing. We've been doing that. And when we're not up there working on it, we're like planning out like purchasing countertops and sinks and planning out what we do want to do with other parts of the house so that we can get stuff, ordered and designed for that. And it's definitely been like an additional full-time job on top of our full-time jobs. As I mentioned, my son's doing great. He took his ACT test. We're waiting for his score. He thinks he did awful on it, so he wants to sign up for another one. I guess we'll see what happens. He's taking his AP tests for his college classes next week. He is a junior, so he has one more year of high school. And then we also told him he has to have a job over the summer, so he is starting to interview for some different positions. Like he's interviewing for a landscaping position tomorrow, and he's hoping to get that. He was thinking he was going to work at his Adventures in Cardboard place because he was a junior counselor or a counselor in training there last year, but they ended up having to not have one of the sites that they thought they were going to have. And so they had to cut some people that they were going to promise jobs to. And so he did not get that job. So he's looking for something new there. He still is refereeing hockey occasionally, but it's been a little bit hard to get time to do that. So anyways, and then, that's pretty much it for our family. Sadly, we did have to put down one of our cats last week. Sarah, she was almost 20. She was going to be 20 in a couple of months. And we knew she had kidney failure, we knew she had cancer, and we were trying to keep her comfortable, but she kind of got to the point where she wasn't eating, she couldn't move around very well, she was getting pretty incontinent, and so she would just sit there and like howl at everybody, and so it was time to put her down. So we did that, and it's sad, and it takes some time to adjust. For me, like I keep trying to find the fourth cat, or like, look for her and stuff like that, but I think in general the household is more peaceful, and hopefully she's happier as well, not in pain anymore. So that was hard, but we did have to do that in the midst of all this other craziness. So there you go. There's a little life update as long as my favorite books of the month. I will be doing a stacking the shelves next week. I do have a ton of books I have gotten. I have been reading a lot of audiobooks in particular because we are doing a lot of driving places, driving up to Duluth, driving back, driving up, driving back. And I am a little bit exhausted from all of this. I am also still trying to keep up like all my weightlifting and things like that. So there just hasn't been a lot of time for doing this. Eventually, maybe at some point when I end up retiring, I will have like more time to put into this channel and actually making it something that is something rather than just me occasionally putting these posts up about what books I like and what books I get. I do know, I was looking back through my analytics, and I do have my most popular posts were ones about, the best books of like fairy tale retellings or best books in certain genres and things like that. So I will try to get back to doing more of that, but it will probably be a couple years, honestly, before I get back to that, just because of the next couple years are going to be very crazy. So anyways, with all that being said, if you had any great books you read in March, April that you'd like to share, please comment down below. I love to read people's comments about great books they are reading. And I will talk to you guys next week for a Stacking the Shelves. Talk to you later. Bye.